Best 5 Xiaomi Redmi Phone 2023 are offered in a wide variety, each with unique features, benefits, and prices. I did a massive amount of research, reviewed a ton of reviews, and put up a list of the best 5 Xiaomi Redmi phone from trustworthy brands to assist you in making a decision. After extensive investigation, I discovered these goods to benefit people like you. If you are curious to learn more about the price and other information, be sure read my description. Without further ado, let's watch the video. Number 1. Xiaomi Redmi Note 11. Take a look at the Redmi Note 11, and you wouldn't think it's a budget phone that costs as little as it does. It feels light but well constructed in the hand, the matte plastic backing is comfortable to the touch, and feels more premium than we expected it to. And even the rear camera bump is tastefully handled. At a mere 8.1 mm, 0.32 inches, thick, this is more svelte than a lot of the budget phones that have crossed the Tech Radar Review's desk, and all the curves and ridges on this phone are tastefully and thoughtfully positioned. It's perhaps only the slightly thicker bottom bezel underneath the display that gives away this phone's affordable price tag. Xiaomi has excelled itself with the 6.43-inch AMOLED screen on the Redmi Note 11, with a resolution of 1080 by 2400 pixels, 1000 nits peak brightness and a 90 Hz refresh rate. It's superb for everything from browsing the web to watching movies streamed from the web. There's no HD support, but it's not something that you'll really miss. The Redmi Note 11 comes with a quad-lens rear camera made up of a 50MP wide lens, an 8MP ultra-wide lens, a 2MP macro lens and a 2MP depth lens. On the front, there's a single 13MP wide lens which is good enough for straightforward selfie shots and video calls through whatever apps you want to use. The Redmi Note 11 has specs befitting its price. Under the hood you get a Qualcomm Snapdragon 680 processor, 4GB or 6GB of RAM, and 64GB or 128GB of internal storage. We recommend going for the 128GB option, although there is a microSD card slot as well for expanding the amount of room you've got for apps and files. Those are pretty basic specs for a modern-day smartphone, but they're enough to get by, and we didn't have any major problems with glitches or lag while we were using the handset. Of course, switching between screens and apps isn't going to be quite as slick as it is on an iPhone 13 or Samsung Galaxy S22, but then again you're paying a lot less for the hardware, so it depends where on the price versus performance spectrum you want to be. 5,000 mAh battery capacity. If the performance isn't quite top-notch on the Redmi Note 11, the battery life is certainly among the best we've seen on a smartphone lately. We were easily getting through a day of use with 30 to 40% battery left by bedtime, and with a bit of careful management, you could probably get through a couple of days with the phone. Number 2.
Xiaomi Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G. The Redmi Note 11 lineup has made its worldwide debut, and all 4 notes are already in our hands. This year there is an additional 5G version for each Note and Note Pro, and it's only natural we start with the most expensive and most powerful among them, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G. The Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G is as large as the Redmi Note 10 Pro, and they both look alike. The new Note 11 Pro 5G has a similar 6.67-inch Super AMOLED screen with 120 Hz refresh that sits on top of the same dual-glass IP53 rated body. 164.2 by 76.1 by 8. 1 mm, 202 grams glass front, Gorilla Glass 5, glass back IP53, dust and splash protection. Display, 6.67 Super AMOLED, 120 Hz, 700 nits, 1200 nits. Peak, 1080 by 2400 px resolution, 20:9 aspect ratio, 395p chipset, Qualcomm SM6375 Snapdragon 695 5G, 6 nanometers, octa-core, 2x2. 2 GHz Cryo 660 Gold 6x1. 7 GHz Cryo 660 Silver, Adreno 619. Memory, 64GB 6GB RAM, 128GB 6GB RAM, 128GB 8GB RAM UFS 2.2 microSD. Uses shared SIM slot. OS/software, Android 11, MIUI 13. Rear camera, wide, main, 108 MP, f/1.9, 26mm, 1.52, 0.7 micro m, def ultra wide angle, 8 MP, f/2.2, 118s macro, 2 MP, f/2.4. Front camera, 16 MP, f/2.4, wide. Video capture, rear camera, 1080p at 30 fps. Front camera, 1080p at 30 fps. Battery, 5000 mAh. Fast charging 67 watts, 50% in 15 minutes, 100% in 42 minutes. Advertised, power delivery 3.0, quick charge 3+. Miscellaneous, fingerprint reader, side-mounted, infrared port 3.5mm jack.
Number 3.
Xiaomi Mi 11i, 128GB, 8GB RAM. Xiaomi 11i 5G features a somewhat boxy design, complete with flat edges as well as flat front and back panels. That's not meant to be a criticism by any means. This is a good-looking, and well-made, smartphone. That said, the 11i 5G is quite big and heavily comparable both in size and weight to Samsung's Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, so using it one-handed is almost impossible even for someone with average-sized hands. Xiaomi 11i 5G runs MIUI 12.5 based on Android 11, which is rather disappointing, even more so as the company doesn't have the best track record when it comes to software updates. While the odds of the phone getting, at least, Android 12 are good, when that'll happen is anybody's guess. That said, MIUI 12.5 does include a bevy of useful features like system-wide dark mode, and app lock, and a customizable always-on display. Yes, you do have to wade through a bunch of bloatware, but many of them can be uninstalled. I also found the overall performance to be generally smooth, with no dropped frames or random app crashes. The phone's powered by MediaTek's Dimensity 920 SAC and 6/8GB of RAM, a combo that can handle everything from graphics-intensive games, for example Asphalt 9, Legends, to split-window multitasking sans major hiccups. MIUI's RAM management continues to be aggressive though, with apps in memory reloading more often than I would have liked. Just like every other mid-range smartphone these days, the Xiaomi 11i 5G packs in a multi-lens rear camera setup, and while it's far from being terrible, the overall experience is a tad underwhelming. Don't get me wrong. The 108 MP primary sensor, with 9-inch -1 pixel binning for an effective 12 MP resolution, captures pretty good photos in well-lit conditions. Colors are mostly accurate, and there's ample resolve detail. The sensor's larger size, 1.52, helps in improving low-light performance as well, even when you don't use night mode. However, that's where the positives, largely, and
Number 4.
Xiaomi 12T Pro 5G plus 4G LTE. The 6.7-inch OLED display has a resolution of 2712 by 1220 and refreshes up to 120 Hz, but it's not an LTPO 2.0 panel. Your options or refresh rate must be either 30 Hz/60 Hz/90 Hz/120 Hz. Though Xiaomi's software can switch that for you. Viewing angles and color reproduction are both excellent, but the screen's maximum brightness of 500 nits, standard, and 900 nits, peak, aren't as high as other flagships I've handled. Under heavy sunlight, the screen is still visible, but not as much as something like an iPhone 14 Pro or Galaxy S22 Ultra. The internals are top-notch. Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 with 8 or 12 GB of RAM and either 128 or 256 GB of storage. at LPDDR5 and UFS 3.1 respectively. A 5000 mAh cell fills the inside and it can be charged at 120 watts with the included charging brick. From my test, it takes 24 minutes to charge from a dead battery to full. You have stereo speakers fine-tuned by Harman, Karen, and as is the case with Xiaomi's higher-end phones, the speaker grills are symmetrical and located on the top and bottom of the device for equal sound output. The audio quality is great for a phone speaker. Let's talk about that 200MP camera. This is the Samsung ISOCELL HP1 sensor that was announced last year but has only made it onto phones this year. Xiaomi's actually not the first to use it, as Motorola's Edge 30 Ultra has launched, though that phone seems to be only available in China for now. I haven't had a chance to test that device yet. By the way, with the 5000 mAh battery and the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, battery life has been great. A single charge can get me through a 14-hour day with about 15% battery to spare. Screen on time generally hovered around 6 to 7 hours during that stretch. Charging is fast, as mentioned, with the included charging brick. 24 minutes from 0 to 100.
Number 5. Xiaomi 12T 5G plus 4G LTE. The Xiaomi T series phones usually come months after the original flagship and weeks before the next headliner. And while they do bring plenty of top-notch features, they are not intended to compete at a top-tier level. On the contrary, a Xiaomi T model is best described as a flagship killer. So, let's meet the Xiaomi 12T. A successor to the Xiaomi 11T, a phone that you may consider getting instead of the frontrunners. The 12T model builds on the 11T with a higher resolution AMOLED screen with even more colors thanks to the native 12-bit color support. It comes with a newer Dimensity 8100 Ultra chipset, up from the Dimensity 1200 chip within the 11T. And the charging power has gone from 67 watts up to the whooping 120 watts. The Xiaomi 12T looks like any typical glass smartphone with a large screen and no-nonsense design. It is IP53 rated for dust and light splash resistance and offers Gorilla Glass 5 screen protection. The display resolution is now 1220p. Up from 1080p on the 11T and 12, and there is 120 Hz dynamic refresh rate. Body, 163.1 by 75.9 by 8. 6 mm, 202 grams Gorilla Glass 5 front, glass back, plastic frame, IP53 rated for dust and light splash resistance. Display, 6.67 AMOLED, 1B colors, 120 Hz, HDR10+, 1220 by 2712 px resolution, 20.01:9 aspect ratio, 446 bit chipset, MediaTek Dimensity 8100 Ultra, octa-core CPU, 4x2, 85 GHz Cortex-A78 4x2. 0 GHz Cortex-A55, Mali G610MC6 GPU. Memory, 128 GB 8 GB RAM, 256 GB 8 GB RAM UFS 3.1. OS/software, Android 12, MIUI 13. Rear camera, wide, main, 108 MP, f/1.7, 1.67, 0.64 a micro m. PTAF, OIS ultra wide angle, 8 MP, f/2.2, 120s, 1/4, 1.12 a micro m macro, UMP, f/2.4. Front camera, 20 MP, f/2.2, wide, 1/3.47, 0.8 a micro m. Video capture: 4K at 30 fps, 1080p at 30/60 fps. Rear camera, 4K at 30 fps. Front camera, 1080p at 30 fps. Battery, 5000 mAh. Fast charging, 120 watts. Miscellaneous: fingerprint reader, under display, optical, NFC infrared port stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos,